Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast. I am joined by the guys this morning. They do their own podcast together and kind of left me up to my own devices over here, trying to figure it out by myself over here on Sundays and Fridays. But happy to be joined by Justin and Andrew this morning. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Fantastic, man. Super Bowl Sunday. It's like Christmas morning, man.
This is my Christmas morning. This is my Christmas morning. I am running on pure energy right now. It's Valentine's Day weekend at my bar. So, it is. I have been working late. But like I said, I'm running on pure adrenaline and coffee right now. My Kansas City Chiefs are playing in the Super Bowl. So I couldn't be more excited. Justin, how are we feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good. Are you going to get an afternoon nap in? Try to calm the nerves, or are you just going to ride straight through?
I got to ride straight through. There's no napping for me. I can't. I wish I could midday nap. I'm not that type of person. I don't sleep well that way anyway. But like I said, probably going to be a 4 or 5 cup of coffee day. Might even stop by my bar and get a couple espressos too. Going to start drinking here shortly after this podcast as well. Gentlemen, you got anything on the spread this morning? Wing? Were you cooking anything today?
Wings. I make wings every Super Bowl. I'm pretty excited about that.
Andrew, anything up for you?
Yeah, so we're going to a Super Bowl party, so we don't have to provide a whole lot, but we are making pigs in a blanket, and I'm also making horseradish and cheese stuffed pickles as well. So
interesting.
Interesting. If you've never tried that, man, it's a nice spin on just regular old pickles.
Pickles.
Well, I've learned something today. That was definitely that is unique for sure.
Put some hair on your chest.
Put some hair on your chest, he says.
I'll be predominantly consuming whiskey today, but when I am, I'll probably be having a few wings as well. Before we jump into it here, just want to remind everybody we are brought to you by WynnBET. Fantasy football on Sports Gambling Podcast is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100 and get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. So everybody, I figured we would start off today with some Super Bowl talk because, it's Super Bowl Sunday. So I know we're a fantasy football show. We'll get into the Dynasty here in just a bit, but I just wanted to hear your guys' predictions. Maybe start off with you, Justin. How do you think this game's going to go today? Give us a final score.
Final score? What did I do yesterday, Andrew? 31-27? Chiefs?
I think that's it.
Yeah, 31-27 Chiefs. I like Eagles first half. I like a nice comeback for the Chiefs. I mean, I know you're close to the situation as a Chiefs fan, but anytime that I can get Patrick Mahomes as a dog, I'm jumping on that opportunity. So taking the Chiefs all day. Better passing game. Eagles have been a nice story all season. I think Jalen Hurts has only lost one time this season when healthy, and that was to Andrew's Commandos.
Boom.
Yeah. So there's definitely some trends that are going their way. I know the public is, very much go Birds, but I'm riding with go Chiefs.
I like it. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, of course, I'm definitely not on the Eagles bandwagon. Can't jump on that. It's all about Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. This defense has been getting shit on all week. They're talking about how Jalen Hurts is going to be able to run all over the place. Ain't happening. We're going to go 35-27 Chiefs.
All right. You guys like it high scoring this week. I actually think it's going to be a bit lower. I have it 24-20 Kansas City Chiefs. I just think that, the defenses are getting a little bit discredited today. The Philadelphia Eagles, we know that they're tough, and, they'll have some success on Patrick Mahomes, especially on the edges. The Chiefs aren't strong at tackle. The interior, the guards and the center are fantastic. Orlando Brown and Wiley leave something to be desired sometimes on the outside, especially against some athletic defensive ends like the Philadelphia Eagles. So I like it to be a little bit more lower scoring. But like I said, I've seen a lot of stats suggest, the Chiefs have been a top 12, top 10 defense the last 2 months or so. When you look at all the stats cumulative, they're playing a lot better. The cornerbacks are getting kind of branded by fire. We're starting a couple, we've been playing a lot of rookies back there. And, at the beginning of the year, they were getting toasted nonstop. But now they're playing a lot better recently, balled up on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, played about as well as you could have asked them last week. And we're also L'Jarius Sneed's going to play. Frank Clark.
Love it.
Chris Jones was an absolute animal, just abusing people last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. So he was playing fantastic. Karlaftis is coming on. So the defense is playing a lot better. Wide receivers are going to be about as healthy as you can ask for. We're going to be missing McCole Hardman, but Juju will be playing. Kadarius Toney is going to play. We'll see how long he lasts on the field. Patrick Mahomes suggests that he's healthy, about as healthy as he's going to be. I think we're going to see about 90% Patrick Mahomes out there too. So I think, I know the Philadelphia Eagles have been just killing everybody they played, but the Kansas City Chiefs have had a lot tougher schedule, in my opinion. So
I agree. Yeah, the last 2 games I feel like have been nice bumps for the Eagles for sure. Like the challenges didn't really seem to be there for them, and it felt like they were just kind of able to do whatever they wanted. I don't think that's going to be the case for today. I definitely feel you on the under. I'm just going oppo of the public because it feels like that's kind of the general consensus, is because it's the Super Bowl. There will be low scoring, and I get those narratives, like especially like the first couple of drives. There typically isn't like the big fireworks that people are expecting as we're kicking off the biggest football game of the year. But I feel like this is one of those situations where we could go again opposite of that, where we have the offenses and we have all the tools in place on both sides where we can get early points.
How do you feel about the Eagles hiring Vic Fangio for 2 weeks to help them try to defeat the Chiefs? I mean, good move, bad move,
whatever you need, I guess.
It's probably a good move for them.
Shouldn't even be
how
allowed.
do you feel about that? Yeah, I know, right? Like,
I'm with Emerson on that. Like, I feel like there should be like some type of cutoff. Like, what do you mean?
You can't add a player now.
I know, like, so I can have anyone come in and just be a consultant, like, immediately. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, shout out Vic Fangio trying to go get a ring. He definitely didn't get one in Chicago. So by all means, go ahead, pal. But yeah, it's kind of a weird situation to me. I mean, I don't really think much of it. I just think it's kind of weird and just not necessary. And yeah, there probably should be some type of rule in place because, how close can you get to the other team, right? Like, how many degrees of separation can you get from some, like, yeah, Vic Fangio was in the division or whatever. He knows about them, but he wasn't with Kansas City
6 times.
And he wasn't very successful either.
Yeah, I was going to say, did it matter? Like, did it matter? Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how close can you get? Like, oh, well, this person that used to work for Kansas City last year, they're available. So, i.e. consultant job available, whatever. Like, it just seemed a little fishy to me, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. Fortune favors the bold. Go get a ring, Vic.
Yeah, I feel like we're just facing a lot of East Coast bias today. Like I said, you get on all those betting shows, and most of them are taking the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like, and that's fine. That's exactly where I want to be today. I want people talking against Patrick Mahomes. I want, every week, whoever Patrick Mahomes is playing, I guess is argued as the best quarterback in the league. You know what I mean? If Patrick Mahomes is playing Josh Allen. Josh Allen is arguably the best quarterback. It's Joe Burrow. Jalen Hurts. Why not? You know what I mean? So anybody but Patrick Mahomes, apparently, for some people, it's for the Skip Baylesses of the world. But, that's what I mean. Patrick Mahomes has gotten to the point where, Skip Bayless is a consistent hater. So, you know what I mean? I actually take that as a compliment.
I think the NFL in general, like fans, there's always that passion and that love for an underdog. And you remember all of the years that everyone would just hose and shit on Tom Brady and the Patriots. Mm-hmm. There would be all of that hate. People hate success sometimes. And Mahomes has been here how many times now? Is this his third or fourth trip?
Third time in the Super Bowl.
Third time in 5 years, yeah.
Yep. Third time in 5 years. He's starting to get, I think, some of that, anti-favoritism. you know what I mean? Like, people are going just opposite of, the big time player, the big time teams, and they want to see somebody new to it. Not the Eagles. I'll tell you that, for me, at least. I love an underdog story. I love me a come up, but no, not the Birds.
I'm worried about the ref narrative here. His name is escaped. I was just trying to remember the name of the head ref. And he does not like Travis Kelce. So there's that narrative. That's going to be hard to ignore.
Well, at least it's not like hockey, and he can just like put him in a box. Like, hey man, you're out of the game for 2 minutes. Go sit down. Yeah,
the refs have been rough this past season. Yeah, I know people were upset about that Bengals game. I think the outcome would have been the same anyway. But oh man, now the one egregious play was when that. They had to the referee comes in and stops the play, and they had to replay it. I was like, okay, that was a little ridiculous, but
it was legit. You could see him coming in from the
backside.
Legit.
He did stop the play, but it was just like I could see where the frustration comes out. Then
we need a referee union, man. We need these dudes to be employees of the NFL, in my opinion.
Just use robots. That's where we're headed. You know what I mean? Just use robots. Or just have somebody review. have somebody just glance at the play, like, you know what I mean, like 5 seconds, like, you know what I mean, just have a reviewer up in the booth, you know, have just glance at the play, and if it's like no, you know, if it's agree, you know what I mean, if he can tell just clearly out of just like reviewing the play for 5 seconds, like, you know, just change it. I don't know why
I didn't know you were
so complicated.
I didn't know you were so anti-union and so anti-labor.
No, absolutely.
You take people's jobs, give them to robots, no unions. What the hell?
Nope. I'm just accepted our robot overlords, and I'll be working a lot right alongside them. So it's fine by me.
The next head of the NFLPA, Emerson Beery.
Hey, don't forget, everybody, SGPN merch store, refs are terrorist shirt are available. So for those who want to support.
And tell them that we sent you. Tell them that all 3 of us sent you, because we want to get on Degenerate 1. Before you can go to the moon, you have to get airbound, all right? We want to fly private.
I love. And hey, speaking of, this is a perfect time to shout out our last day for the free Kenneth Walker jersey. If you give a 5-star review on our Apple Podcast and leave your name, they will be doing a drawing today. Where are we doing the drawing, everybody? Anybody know, Justin? All right. Well, I will definitely announce.
I'm going to send it out on Twitter. I'll send it out on.
I will send it out on Twitter. So if you leave a 5-star on our Apple Podcast feed, somebody's doing a drawing today. I don't know exactly when, but I will definitely announce it on my Twitter at Dynasty Analyst.
I may or may not have went in this morning and put my entry in. Just saying.
I left a 5-star review as well, so maybe I'll.
I saw you're like you said not biased or anything.
And then I had my mother leave a 5-star review as well, so that'll get me the 5-star. That'll get me the Kenneth Walker jersey too.
Smart.
But before we jump into our dynasty buys and lows, I just figured, you know, since it's Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles, that's the theme today. I figured we talk a little bit maybe about the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles fantasy football outlook for 2023, because this is kind of like a dynasty. You know, I mend with the times. You know what I mean? Like this is dynasty season. I go dynasty here in 2 months. I'll be picking back up, and I'll be picking back up probably, and I won't be able to help myself. I'll have to talk about some underdog probably on the podcast.
I was going to say like. It was like yesterday. Like, we're live, baby.
I know. I saw you guys. You guys had it. I was comfortable with you guys. I was thinking like you guys had it, but yeah, I'll have to talk about some underdogs soon. But considering it's dynasty, just want to talk about a little bit about the Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles next year. Start off with my Kansas City Chiefs. You know, it's interesting. It'll be an interesting offseason for them. You know, Isiah Pacheco was playing very well. Jerick McKinnon's going to be a free agent, but you know, decide what they do at running back in a deep free agent class, deep rookie class as well. Wide receivers, a little bit of a question mark, you know, left a little bit to be desired this year. Everyone was kind of, you know, it's a different week for everybody. Juju Smith-Schuster had some good weeks, a little bit of a letdown at the end of the year. Kadarius Toney was injured a lot. Sky Moore didn't quite live up to expectations. You know, Bruno, I'll go to you first. Just, you know, do you have an outlook maybe specifically the wide receivers next year? You know, do you think we're going to see some additions? You know, maybe we're going to re-sign Juju. Are we going to go to Kadarius Toney? Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I definitely think they're going to be in the market. You know, we've seen already some murmurs out of the Chargers. Keenan Allen's probably going to be a cap casualty. We've seen the rumors about DeAndre Hopkins potentially getting moved. I have to imagine they're going to get into the wide receiver market. I could see them making some, you know, lower cap type of moves like an Allen Lazard or a GJ Shark. I don't have a big argument for them not to re-sign Juju, but you know, you're the Chiefs fan, and what you saw from him down the stretch. I mean, do you feel like his production really warrants a contract? I don't feel that way necessarily. It didn't feel like he was, you know, becoming like an A1 type of receiver again. And, you know, he had that opportunity playing behind Kelsey. Everyone was kind of assuming like, oh, well, because he's second fiddle, you know, he's going to do well like he did with Antonio Brown during his rookie season. Well, that really wasn't the case. You know, he was hindered by injuries. He really wasn't like the next guy up behind Kelsey. It's really just whoever Mahomes, you know, is finding open. And Juju didn't feel like that guy. So I feel like they're definitely going to play the market a bit here. You know, if I'm a Kansas City fan and I'm wanting my team going shopping for receivers, it would probably be those, you know, first couple of guys that I would want in a DeAndre Hopkins or a Keenan Allen.
I like it. Yeah, you know, it'll be interesting. You know, yeah, it's just not a great free agent class. So, you know, Keenan Allen would be a very interesting name. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree on all sentiments that you guys have said so far. I really like the Keenan Allen as outlook. If he is a cap casualty and they let him go, I mean, he would flourish heavily in Kansas City. So that would be my definitely go-to wish list for them. If not, honestly, Free agency, there's not a whole lot of guys out there that I really, really, really like by any means. So honestly, you have Patrick Mahomes for a bunch of more years. Just go out and draft one of these higher class guys that are coming out of the draft. I still believe in Sky Moore. I think that he's a very good wide receiver that just hasn't reached his potential whatsoever this year. So I still think that they have a good wide receiver in Sky Moore. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes can just make things happen. He's a guy that makes players better around him. So
Right.
you don't necessarily have to go out and get the DeAndre Hopkins, of the world to have them be good. I mean, MVS should have been a lot better this year. They just didn't really utilize him as I thought that they should. And then you see what he could do last game. So again, I don't really think that they need to go out and get a heavy hitter here, but Keenan Allen would be the best fit for them, in my eyes.
They're a win now team, right? Like they're still on the button for the next couple of seasons, especially with Travis Kelce rostered. So I feel like those type of players are win now moves, right? Like if you look at them like they're a dynasty fantasy football team, like they should not be selling for their, first round picks. They should be selling to continue to win right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? But the Kansas City Chiefs have been pretty smart these last couple of years, especially shedding the Tyreek Hill contract. It's not like they've just sold out like the Rams did, and so
Right.
the futures looks pretty good. Mahomes, that $50 million is looking better and better every year. I figured as people thought it was crazy and absurd, I thought that it would catch up pretty quick, and here we are. Now Patrick Mahomes is making just decent money now compared to everybody else. Just maybe second or third highest on average, but.
Well, it's a good way to set the market too, because any year that someone runs up along those Mahomes numbers, that type of quarterback's going to be looking for a similar payday. You really change the landscape of the league that way. And we also get a bump in the cap this year as well.
Yeah, that's been nice. And I would think we'll be getting out of that Frank, we restructured his contract and we re-signed him, but Frank Clark does come to play in the playoffs, but I will be excited to get that contract off the books. So maybe somebody bring in somebody like a Keenan Allen. Isiah Pacheco will be a big sell for me this offseason, though, before we jump into the other stuff. Actually, you know what? I have Isiah Pacheco on the line to talk about, so I'll save it for the Isiah Pacheco headline. So before we do jump into the Dynasty sophomore breakouts, I want to do one more shout out to WynnBET. WynnBET is the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there are tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays, aka WynnBET's Build Your Own Bet. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WynnBET. Ready to play? Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, get $100. Limited to state availability. And, of course, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get a $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com so they know we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, gentlemen. And with that, I just wanted to, I figured, like I said, this is a Dynasty, podcast. So, I just wanted to talk about some, maybe some of the more polarizing sophomore, players, the Breece Halls, everybody loves those guys, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. We know those guys are going to play well, Drake London. But, I just wanted to talk about, just some players that, that people might be a little bit more questionable on going into their second year. Starting off with Kenny Pickett. A little bit of an up and down rookie season. He had was 32nd in yards per attempt I have here. Just a little bit more of a game manager at this stage in his career. Fifth year senior coming out of Pittsburgh. Wasn't super productive until his senior season. Late first round pick. So, when we're thinking about quality of a prospect for a quarterback is almost on a different scale. When you talk about a late first round pick at quarterback, that's almost like a longer shot. You know what I mean? Just because how people draft quarterbacks, you know what I mean? So a first round pick at every other position is almost a guaranteed great player. Quarterback, once you get to the bottom of the first round, it's just like questionable starter at that point. That's the projection. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on Kenny Pickett. It'll be interesting because the offensive weapons are there. It just will come down to whether Kenny Pickett has a skill set to take advantage of him. Is this still just going to be a run-first offense? So I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts on Kenny Pickett, maybe his fantasy upside going into the 2023 season. I have him, I believe, as my quarterback 23, so barely a super flex starter in my way too early rankings. So Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit on it. Are they? The two things would be, are they going to continue to be a run-first offense? And is he going to be able to to get his superstar wide receivers the ball as consistently as they'll need it. Fantasy wise, I think Kenny Pickett's one of those guys that I look at him and I think the football outlook and the fantasy outlook are a little different. Football outlook, I don't see it as much for him as an actual football player, but for fantasy purposes, I mean, he can run the ball a little bit. He's not afraid to throw the ball downfield, which is what we like to see. And he has good weapons around him. I mean, he has 3 solid starters in Pat Freiermuth, Pickens, and Deontay Johnson. So I think that the outlook is good for him. I would rather have him over any of the guys coming out, honestly. There's some uncertainty as to, where they'll go, obviously, at this stage as we're talking. But I think I'd still prefer Pickens, over any of the guys just based off of, where he is and who he has around him. So, yeah, I think the outlook for Pickett is very good, actually.
Okay. All right, Justin, what do you think?
I agree with Andrew in the sense that the NFL value versus the fantasy value very different. Like, I believe he is a quarterback that can go in, manage the game, and probably win the Steelers some games. He did that down the stretch of the season. He definitely developed and improved as the season went on, and I expect that to continue to happen into the offseason and into the transition to this new year. Now, as far as like fantasy goes, I don't know if I'm necessarily trying to buy him. When you're looking at the underdog ADPs right now up on the big board, he's going at 141. He's buried down the board quite a bit here. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a pretty good situation. Like Andrew said, like you have all the pieces in play. Johnson, Pickens, Freiermuth. I also like Calvin Austin, who's going to be coming out from there. Expect the Steelers to probably draft another wide receiver prospect. I don't look at this team as buyers, in the free agent market for receivers, running backs, tight ends. I do think that they will improve the offensive line, but this team's big focus will probably be building up the defense this offseason so that they can, again, kind of fit to their narrative of, a grinded out type of team. Like you look at the start that they had versus the finish that they had. And I think a lot of that is predicated on Kenny Pickett's development. But at the same time, he wasn't like lighting up the league. He had, I think, 10 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 7 passing, and then he had like 9 interceptions. So, a poor rookie season, we'll say, but we saw a poor rookie season out of Trevor Lawrence last year. They loaded up for him, improved the roster around him, and we saw, a fruitful transition for his fantasy prospects this year. I'm expecting if the Steelers can upgrade the offensive line a little bit, keep him upright a little bit more, give him a little bit more time in that pocket. I think that combined with his development plan right now, the way it's looking, yeah, I think the second half of next season, he could be, a viable fantasy asset, but it's a big wait and see situation for me. Like he's not someone that I'm like rushing to pick up in my startups or my dynasty drafts.
Yeah, that's kind of where my thought. Where did we see his underdog quarter? Did we see his where he ranks among quarterbacks on underdog?
I don't have the exact number. If you give me a second, I can count it out. But his ADP was 141, so I can tell you that he is butt ended by Derek Carr and CJ Stroud.
Okay, yeah, that's probably about where I would have him then. Probably about quarterback 23, I would say. That's probably quarterback 22, low end quarterback 2 range. I would probably prefer, depending on landing spot. I need to look at how those quarterbacks are going to shake out in the draft. But yeah, CJ Stroud is probably somebody who has a lot more upside than Kenny Pickett. But Kenny Pickett is going to his second season, has some nice weapons. Kenny Pickett has some upside. I think he can maybe develop into a starting super flex quarterback down the line. I don't think he has like quarterback 1 upside, probably never a value in 1 quarterback leagues. My worry about the Pittsburgh offense is Najee Harris was a lot more of a focus towards the end of the season. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if Kenny Pickett will have the volume to sustain all these weapons. I think it'll be kind of boom and bust for George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth, especially. If Deontay Johnson's going to get that target share, though, my goodness, he has to get a lot better this year. And like I said, I know, like I was telling you guys yesterday, that is absurd on underdog right now. I think he is in wide receiver 4. What did he supposed to be like? Wide receiver 36, 38? It's like, geez. So that was a good value for me. I'm going to be having Deontay Johnson on all my best ball teams if that's going to be the case.
Same.
Next man up here I have is Jameson Williams. I was also been hyping this man up this week. 1,579 yards, 15 touchdowns as a junior at Alabama, but he's tore his ACL in the national championship game. Forced him to miss most of his rookie season. So it was kind of a 4.3 40-yard dash, though, 12th pick in the draft. Very long frame, very athletic. He was playing with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave at Ohio State his first couple years. And, that was, wasn't able to get on the field very much, transferred to Alabama and had a breakout season. kind of in that kind of Jalen, just supreme athlete, super fast, kind of in that Jalen Waddle kind of, lengthy frame. I think he's a great value this year. He would have been in argument, I think, as the top wide receiver in the draft this year. So I just think, we're going to treat this like his rookie season. We've seen wide receivers, bounce back quickly. It was going to be tough for him to come back this year and be productive anyway, especially with all the weapons that the Detroit had in that offense. So I think he's a great buy low. I've seen some sites have him at the wide receiver, like 18, 19 range. That's a little aggressive, but I think most commonly he's ranked as a low end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 23, 24, 25 range. So I think that's a good buy opportunity. And I just want to see what you guys think, especially with him playing beside Amon-Ra St. Brown, potentially DJ Chark coming back. Justin, what do you think?
I don't think that DJ Chark will be back. I feel like what they have out of Williams, what they've gotten out of the rest of the roster as well, guys like Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, I feel like the staff likes those guys. I know that we probably don't for fantasy football purposes, but they've gotten the job done for them. Reynolds has a connection with Goff, Raymond, etc. Right? So I think Chark is going to be a cap casualty, and why not? He's only on a 1-year deal, I believe, so no reason to pay him to come back when you have a guy like Williams. And I think that's what makes him most buyable. When we're looking at his current ADP right now on Underdog, he's going in between guys like Tyler Lockett and Mike Evans at ADP 71. That feels a little rich. So I feel like I want better value out of him, but I think in a lot of your drafts, you're going to be able to get that, especially in startup drafts. I feel like there will be some people that let him fall down the board. I don't want to be overly aggressive. By all means, he got on the field a little bit this year. I know he had one big touchdown play. He had a big rushing play, but we didn't see a lot out of him. I think that he will start to climb the board even more so once we get into the early workouts, into training camp. You're going to start seeing the videos floating around Twitter, and his stock is going to rise. So where it's at right now, his current value, I feel like, he's okay. You take your shots on him when you can. I just don't want to be overly aggressive. That's all. I don't want to buy, into the hype too much, I suppose.
It depends. Like in redraft, I'm fairly, I'll toss this over to you a second, Andrew. In redraft, I'm fairly conservative. I'll take the Mike Evans, over Jameson Williams. Mm-hmm. But in Dynasty, I'm very aggressive. You know what I mean? Give me Jameson Williams over Mike Evans. Absolutely. Just because, sure. It's tough. Mike Evans is heading in just such an outlier territory of production. He's been playing it a long time. So I'm always quick to, especially when we're getting to that 30 range, I'm quick to change over. Andrew, what do you think?
So Jameson Williams, I look at him and the only concern I have really is, are the Lions just going to use him as a deep threat? If that's the case, that's not a bad thing, but I would tend to lean to want to take him in best ball more than any other format. Because then you don't have to worry about, am I going to start him and will he catch one of the 4 passes he might get down the field? So I prefer him in best ball. I do think he's a good buy in Dynasty. I just wouldn't want to overpay for him. It'd have to be for the right price. Because again, we didn't really get to see how they want to use him and what he's going to do. But I do think that his ADOT is going to be pretty high. I don't see them utilizing, especially since they have Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think they're going to utilize him a whole lot, close to the line of scrimmage. It's going to be a lot of deep stuff, which is not bad. But again, that's the hit rate on that is pretty low. So I'm concerned for that purpose. But great player. We saw what he could do. His speed didn't look like it was really compromised, through the injury. So I do think it's a good buy. I would just not want to overspend for him, but I think fantastic best ball pick. Again, if you don't have to choose when he, find the right time that he's going to have a good game and just have him on the roster, I think that's probably his best fit for anybody.
Yeah. TJ Hawkinson leaving will open up a little bit for sure. DJ Chark not coming back. So, it'll depend a little bit on that, but Amon-Ra St. Brown should take the best cornerback. So, should command the most coverage. So there should be maybe some soft openings for Jameson Williams downfield potentially. I have him as a back-end wide receiver 3 in my rankings, just because you're right. He's probably going to have some boom and bust games, but I do like him, the long-term outlook quite a bit. Next man up here, I do have James Cook. This is an elite athlete, 4.42, 40-yard dash. He split time with some great running backs at Georgia. This includes Holyfield, I forget Elijah Holyfield, Zamir White, DeAndre Swift. So, he didn't get a chance to really, we didn't get a chance to fully see him in college, really. 79th percentile speed score, has that vision and quick cut, kind of like his brother Dalvin Cook, but doesn't quite have the frame. So that's why he might not be a full-time back at the NFL level. 27 receptions as a senior, though. And, down the stretch, he was far more efficient than Devin Singletary last year, though. We saw, maybe he can't have 20 to 25 carries a game, but he's not just a pass catching back. He is a very good rusher. And, maybe like I said, he's not a workhorse by any means, but if he gets 10 to 15 carries a game, that should be a productive 10 to 15 carries. And, you toss a few receptions on that as well. And, he has a lot of fantasy upside. So, he is a back end running back 2 in my rankings currently, but, there's a lot of potential in that offense. I just think the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs are just horrible for running back. Their quarterbacks are so good. They how many times you want to take the ball out of their hands, I think, is the question for a lot of these guys. And, unless a Bijan Robinson type guy goes there, that's just like, man, we have to get this guy the ball. I'm not sure that James Cook is going to be like, a souped up Jerick McKinnon in the sense, he's going to get some more rushing attempts, but probably a little bit boom and bust for me. Right? Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, coming into last year, I was all over James Cook over Devin Singletary. I think that they realized that, they're probably not going to keep Devin Singletary. At least I'm in that camp of, he leaves Buffalo this year. So I do think James Cook's value is going to only go up, since he's probably going to be the lead guy there. I do agree, though. I don't think that they're going to utilize him like an every down back. They're not going to give him a plentiful of opportunities every week because you have Josh Allen. I mean, you don't really need to, right? So I do worry a little bit about that for his value. But, I mean, his goal line opportunities could see an uptick this year if he's the main guy. And that's really what you're hoping for, right? Is that he can get more touchdowns, get a little bit more opportunities in the red zone. So I like James Cook a lot. That is somebody that I'm probably higher on than the field, in terms of his value and where he should be going. I don't really think that James Cook is a RB1 by any means. I'm not sure he can reach to that point unless he really sees like a Jamal Williams style touchdown load this year. But I do think RB2, ranking at the end of the season is definitely in his wheelhouse. So I'll be all over James Cook. And again, I think he's just as good as his brother, but you're right. It's the frame, right? He's not built to take that workload on. So if he can put on a little bit more poundage, I think that he can get to where his brother is.
Well, that is strong words, my friend, what you just said there. Dalvin Cook has been fantastic. Now, where Dalvin Cook is right now, maybe. But, James Cook does have a lot of upside, though. Very talented. Justin, I'll toss it over to you.
Yeah, I like him as a split back. I don't think there's a situation that really develops where he is just the guy. Even if Singletary wasn't there, I would assume that they would try to load up, either make a trade, sign a free agent. I could see a move for David Montgomery. I could see a trade for a Leonard Fournette, a Kareem Hunt. I feel like they're hungry for this position, and I feel like their lack of run game has actually produced less for them in the playoffs. Like, you still need that run game. Your best runner should not be your quarterback unless your name's Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, right? Like, Josh Allen has that rushing ability, has the deep ball ability, but I feel like that's what this team has been craving. I know last season we all talked about like, they really wanted J.D. McKissick. They were going to offer him a pretty good contract, a more than fair contract. I think it was like $17 million a year. Andrew's Commandos had to match it to just barely even use him. So they're definitely hungry for that type of production for sure. And I think that James Cook will have an active role in the offense. I just don't believe it's going to be enough or offer enough of a safe floor to hit that RB2, the RB2 area. Devin Singletary finished as RB23, RB24 this season, and he was actually very efficient by a per carry basis, but he had a James Cook, running back nagging his type of production, yet he still finished upwards in that range. And I feel like whoever, if James Cook is going to be that guy, then yeah, I think that's probably his ceiling is probably somewhere between running back 20 through 25. But if they do add somebody, I feel like it's going to be a similar role to what he had this season where his usage is sparing. This is still a team that went out and traded for Nyheim Hines, at the deadline. Like, they weren't satisfied with what they had already in the building. So I guess that, kind of signals to me that maybe he's not 100% ready to take a big workload. But yeah, I mean, if he gets the opportunity, he's a great talent. He can do a lot of things with the ball. He's very shifty. He's got great speed, but like you had alluded to, he lacks that size. He lacks that ability to be used as a third down back. or a back used in the red zone with heavy volume. So yeah, like the opportunity, but someone that I'm probably looking for at a better value, someone that I'm not rushing to or running to get on my roster.
I think he's like the RB 28 or 29 on Underdog right now. So that's
Wow.
that's pretty good value, I think, right there. I think if I remember correctly, I've only done 2 drafts so far, but I thought I remember seeing that.
I have him at ADP 92.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I think
that's butt ending in between James Conner and Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I bet that's RB. That's definitely RB3 territory for sure. So I think that's pretty good value. It's just I think he can be the guy in the offense, but what is the guy in the Buffalo offense? What's the guy in the Kansas City offense? You know what I mean? Like it's
sure.
It's a lesser role. You know, I mean, it's sitting. We're going to be running through offense through Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I've been throwing out here is, man, there's so many free agent running backs this year, and so many there'll be so many good rookie running backs available in like the 4th or 5th round of drafts. That'll be
right.
It'll be a difficult offseason of minds for a lot of these these marginally talented running backs, maybe not the elite guys, right. I don't want to say that, he's very good, but just guys who aren't in that elite tier, it'll be a lot, there'll be a lot of influx of rookie running backs this year. Free agents will be going around. So it'll be,
and I would expect the Bills probably add one of those guys, and they probably make our jobs a living hell.
He is RB 28 on Underdog. In between in the draft I took him in, he's in between Brian Robinson and Tyler Algier in round 8.
Yeah, Tyler Algier, that's another one that doesn't quite match up to the offseason hype. I've had people. I did a top 12 running backs, and people were telling me I left out Algier, and that he's in RB3 territory on Underdog. So that's another pretty good value there. Next up here, I have Trey McBride. I really like Trey McBride. I would love Trey McBride if Kyler Murray, if I thought he was going to play the full season to be healthy, but he might start off a little bit slower. But, this is a guy who played over 73% of the snaps in every game since Zach Ertz left. Zach Ertz is 33, coming off an ACL injury. That is not typically, something that is goes well for people in that age range. He had 1,125 receiving yards as a senior. Well, his last year in college, I don't remember if he was a junior or senior, but that's absurd. You know what I mean? Especially for a tight end in college, that is absolutely insane. So he has a great pass catching profile.
Who did he play for? He was like their dude. He was like, they were using him everywhere. I think they even used him at running back a few times.
Oh man, I'm only blanking this morning because I was, like I said,
I went to Colorado State.
Colorado State. Yeah, they were, they were using him like a fucking bowling ball. They were using him all over the place.
As Evan Silva always points out, he's a motherfucking Mackey Award winner. All right, he was the best tight end in the nation. So tells you something.
Don't doubt it. You can't doubt that.
I think he's my tight end 13 on the year, and he would be a tight end 1 for me if I thought that Kyler Murray was going to play. I think he'll have some boom and bust games. It's depending on who's at quarterback there. But Justin, what do you think? How do you like his outlook?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I mean, I think the situation is going to be super volatile to begin with. We don't know who's going to be at quarterback. They're probably trading their top receiver. I feel like this is a team that's going to get heavy running back and tight end usage to start the season. Like right out of the gate, I feel like he is going to have a role. Now, if Zach Ertz is there and he's healthy and in front of them, great. I'm going to get him at a cheaper cost because one or two things will most likely happen. Either Zach Ertz will either get moved and he won't be there to start the season, or he'll probably demand a trade at a certain point if he's still on the roster, because this looks like a burning trash can right now. This looks like a dumpster fire in Arizona, at least right now, at least on paper. Obviously, a lot of things can change via free agency. Actually getting a head coach probably will help, and making some moves, right? But I feel like this is going to be a big shakeup roster, but Trey McBride's going to be there. So I feel like he's going to have some heavy run to start the season. He's someone that I'm very excited about this year. He's at ADP 192 on Underdog.
I know.
Dogged and buried on that app right now. I think me and Andrew have both seen him go in the last 2 picks, or last 2 rounds, excuse me.
Yep.
No, low end tight end too. I remember him being like about tight end 22, tight end 23, I want to say, in those rankings yesterday. Andrew, what do you think?
I think his outlook is very good. Actually, I mean, there's no lock that Ertz is back. Hopkins might be on his way out as well. That's going to open up a lot of opportunities for him. I believe, I'm just checking out some of his stats here to kind of compare. But when there were not a lot of, when they had a lot of injuries in Arizona, he was like tying for target share at like 25% with Greg Dortch at that time. In the scenario where Ertz isn't there and Hopkins leaves, I mean, that might be like an average for him is like 25% target share. If that's the case, I mean, we're going to see his opportunities, his touchdown potential, his yardage potential, everything swing up pretty hard. You know, he probably shouldn't be going where he's going now. He should probably be towards the front side of that tight end 2 ranking. So
Yeah,
I think the outlook for him is very good. That would be somebody I would definitely be targeting in all formats, you know, best ball, dynasty, redraft, everything. You know, that he'll be somebody on my radar, you know, this year pretty heavily, actually. So I think the outlook for him is very good. I just hope that they get a coaching staff that knows how to utilize the tight end more.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out to you, Breathing Fantasy Football. Literally, we do the same thing. So we love having you in. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, he's a guy we met on draft day 2 last year. He has a channel on YouTube here as well. He does a lot of the best ball stuff. So he's heavily invested in Underdog as well.
Oh, perfect.
Literally.
He's a degenerate like the rest of us. You're more than welcome to come on the show sometime, man. Shoot me a message, and I'd love to have you on. But yeah, it's I would have, like I said, any positive reports about Kyler Murray this offseason, we'll just have him. I'll be moving him up and up. Like I said, I have him as my tight end 13, so front end of the tight end 2 ranks. But I would have him as a tight end 1 if I thought Kyler Murray was healthy going into week 1. We'll see if that happens. Next up here,
just really quick, me and Andrew have a side bet for Marcus Mariota. Good landing spot for Marcus Mariota to start week 1 next year.
Do you think he's a starter next year?
Marcus Mariota?
Yeah.
He starts week 1 in the NFL.
Week 1, is he going to be a starter?
No.
Bam. That's all right.
No.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. That's what everyone said this time last year. And I'm $50 richer. It's all good.
I do not think Marcus Mariota will be a starter week 1. We will see, though. That it'll be a shakeup, you know, especially, you know, if he is a starter, it'll be something cheap, like, you know, starting a few weeks in place of Kyler Murray. We'll see. But next up here, I do have Sky Moore. We were talking about him earlier. Yes. Classic case of the Kansas City bump. You know, a player that wasn't really on. You know, he was getting some pre-draft hype last year, but really was not in any first round discussions really until he was taken by the Kansas City Chiefs. Small school, elite athlete. Only played 50% of the snaps last year. One time though, 20 targets in 15 healthy games with Juju Smith-Schuster. You know, he had 12 targets in the 2 games without him, but not much there. Top. You know, and one thing that important to note is, you know, rookie wide receiver production, there are some outliers. Like Devontae Adams did not have a productive rookie season, and he is fantastic. However, of the top 36 wide receiver finishes last year, only 7 didn't have 500 yards as a rookie, and 4 of those 7 were in the bottom 6 there, you know, of those top 36 wide receivers. So, you know, although it's not indicative and 100% indicative of future success, Sky Moore would be an outlier in terms of being, you know, so unproductive as a rookie and then to have future fantasy football success. It's just very tough. You know, the wide receiver position is so deep. It's so many good players. And you have MVS. He wasn't able to ever play over MVS. And, you know, MVS did not do a lot throughout the whole season. Kadarius Toney was in and out of the lineup. And Juju Smith-Schuster, you know, had his moments, but, you know, was, like I said, unproductive toward the end of the season. Yeah, a little wishy-washy. So Sky Moore certainly had an opportunity to seize a share of this offense. Now, he was raw, so maybe, you know, he did need a year to learn. But, you know, I don't love, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I don't love the future outlook of Sky Moore. I think, you know, he maybe is more of a third wide receiver in the offense, which isn't, you know, Patrick Mahomes is more of a guy who, like, focuses on, he's never consistently focused on anyone in his entire career other than Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. So it could be a little bit boom and bust. Andrew, what are your thoughts? I know you said you were a Sky Moore fan, so how about you give me a sell?
Yeah, man, I really like Sky Moore a whole lot. You know, if you go back and look at his tape in college, I mean, the dude was making plays all over the field. That's what they need in Kansas City because of what Mahomes does. You know, he scrambles, he extends plays, and he gets the ball downfield to guys that are open. Sky Moore can do that. My concern for Sky Moore is that as little as he plays, we don't typically see them take a massive jump in year 2, you know, just based off of his playing time. So he's only one of 3 that are still under contract. I think it's MVS, Toney, and him are the only ones actually under contract for the Chiefs this coming season. So, I mean, that alone gives him a little bit of an uptick because he's at least going to be there for sure. So I do think that his value right now is probably as low as it can be. Obviously, he does get the Kansas City bump, as you said. I mean, you know, anybody playing with Patrick Mahomes, should be pretty good, right? So the opportunities are there for him, depending on what they do in free agency and in the draft. But he's just he has such good playmaking ability. They just didn't really need to utilize him a whole lot, and it didn't help his case either that he kept muffing all those punts. I mean, you can't be doing that. Andy Reid's going to sit you, right? So I think next year he gets a little bit of a clean slate with all that, all the drops that he had and the issues with fumbling. But his value is so low right now. I mean, it's really worth the risk at this point, and in best ball cases, he's going pretty low too. So, I mean, there's really he's not going to hurt you at where you're picking him. So I just think that in the offense, he has the playmaking ability to do so. And of course, it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he can get you the ball, right? So as long as he gets a little bit more playing time next year, I think that his value will way outweigh where his current ADP is.
Okay. All right. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards your side, Emerson. Like, I'm not rushing to get this guy on my roster. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like, good talent has the skill set, but like you mentioned, Andrew, like you got to do the little things right. Like, you can't be dropping your opportunities on special teams, because that's how a lot of people get into the lineup, is they perform well on special teams as the gunner, not dropping punts, just getting your team a good return, setting your team up in a good position. Oh, you know what? Great play, man. Go out there and take a couple of snaps on, the extra out, whatever. That's how you get yourself on the field and stay on the field. Like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning always say, like, just because you get on the field doesn't mean like you're going to get on the field for the next play, right? So, make whatever you do out there impactful, because it may be the last time you're on the field, i.e. the time that Peyton Manning told a dude to just get out of my huddle. Go sit down, son. You're not welcome in this league anymore, per me.
Was it one of his blockers or a receiver?
No, it was a receiver. I can't remember who it was. There's a story that he did on, I think it was like PFE or something like that, where he was explaining where he had to like tell a guy like, hey man, like, so I'm retiring you from this league. Just go sit down. The bench is over there. I look at this situation as developing. They're probably going to bring somebody in. They're probably going to bring Juju back, and you're going to see MVS, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore all competing for the third best target share in the offense. I'm going to sit and wait on all of those guys, and I'll take the last one that's available in my draft, whether it be a startup, best ball, whatever.
An exciting group. That's an exciting group. Now that you say it like that, you know what I mean? That group has a ring to it. Like, it's all very volatile players, you know what I mean? But very talented. Yeah.
I don't have to run to any of them. One of them is going to get left over in my draft. And I don't mind having any of those guys. I don't mind having Sky Moore. I don't mind having Kadarius Toney or MVS. I think that all of them in the right situation can be something. Now you're pairing them with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. In the right circumstance, yeah, they could be super productive and they could be a huge asset on your fantasy team. But because it is a volatile situation, I don't have to rush to any of them. If I get Kadarius Toney over Sky Moore with a round of difference and I'm getting the later pick, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to be like, oh, damn, I missed out on Sky Moore. Like, I feel like him and Kadarius Toney are very similar in what they can do, and we've seen flashes from both of them. Also MVS as well, but I feel like MVS would probably get the shaft. Like, just because we see like these younger guys, we see their skill set and everything that they've done, and then we just kind of see the up and down career that has been MVS with the Packers, now with the Chiefs. Like, he is nothing but volatile, right? Like, 1 week he's got 2 touchdowns, the next week he's got 2 catches for 14 yards. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to his production. So I'm going to be in the camp of, hey, let me get the top tier guys on this roster, and whoever I can get at the bottom half for free or at, no risk to myself, I'll take them, because hey, it's a good place to be. Kansas City, Buffalo, high octane offenses.
Just last note on Sky Moore here. He was the hero of last game with a great punt return. So he might have gotten back in his good races.
There you go. It just takes one.
It just takes one. Geoge Pickens is the next man I have up here. 801 yards, 4 touchdowns as a rookie. Very, very good rookie season. This is a case where the fantasy football analysts were right and the NFL was wrong. It's not always the case, but Geoge Pickens is very, very good, and he should have been taken higher in last year's draft. Just a bully, you know what I mean? Just picks on everybody, you know what I mean? Just has, if anybody has that dog, in an overused term, maybe that has that dog in him, it is Geoge Pickens.
The Bears could have drafted him and saved themselves from drafting Chase Claypool.
Yeah, and I've never seen. Okay, I'll always say this. Every time I talk about Geoge Pickens, I have to reference that he's the only man I've seen use the stadium as a weapon. when fighting with another player, tossing the other opposing player into the stadium. I love it. I absolutely loved it. My only worry about George Pickens is I just can't rank him much higher than I did last season, just based on the fact that it's the Pittsburgh offense, Pat Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Pickett is not an advanced passer at this stage in his career. He's going to have a hard time producing multiple fantasy relevant options. I see George Pickens having a lot of big games this year. The problem is I just don't see him. I see some bust games as well, which will overall bring his fantasy output down a little bit. I'll toss it over to you, Andrew. What do you think? Is Deontay, do we see him emerge as the wide receiver one this year? Do we see him taking a backseat to Deontay Johnson?
I mean, I could definitely see him getting more fantasy points than Deontay Johnson, but I don't think he's going to command as many targets as Johnson, does or has done in the past few years. Pickens, his best thing is his catchability, right? Like he can go up and get the ball. We saw it this year. He made multiple fantastic catches that just make you like, man, that dude is going to be awesome in this offense. And if he can get the opportunities, he can definitely end up as their wide receiver one in terms of fantasy points. He needs to stay healthy. I know he did miss a few games this year as well. But he was awesome in college. And again, as you pointed it out, like the fantasy analysts were right on him. We saw what we saw in college, and in turn, it did end up coming over to the NFL. So it's interesting because I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get. Is he going to hit 100 plus this year? If he stays healthy, it's very possible. But, with the likes of Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth there, it is hard to have him be consistent every week. So I do think, we'll see maybe 60% of the time he's finishing as a, wide receiver 2 or better this coming year. But, will Pittsburgh continue to run the ball as they, have been doing? If that's the case, then, we're probably going to see more bust weeks for him than boom weeks. But his catchability is just absolutely off the charts. What he can do at the top of the the top of the point of the catch is just, up there with the elite guys. He is fantastic. And his route running, is pretty good too. I'd say that's about average. So this coming year, I'm going to probably have him ranked as a front end wide receiver 3 with, definitely wide receiver 2 upside. I just worry about the opportunities, and unless something happens where they somehow trade Deontay Johnson, if that happens, watch out, the sky's the limit at that point. But if that don't happen, then I do worry a little bit about the opportunities. But outside of that, absolutely great, fantastic wide receiver.
Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, that would be super interesting. And I am interested to see if DJ would request a trade. I know that he was frustrated down the stretch of last season, but, than just what's that?
Did you see the report that he punched Mr. Trubisky in the face like week 4?
That's awesome.
Who
That's
did?
Fantastic.
Deontay Johnson, like before their week 4 game or whatever, he punched. Yeah, there was a report that just came out this week that he punched Mr. Trubisky in the face. And after that, Mr. Trubisky didn't start again. So I think that DJ has a little bit more of a pull in the organization than we think he does. And,
right.
I think he told Tomlin, like, listen, we're not rolling him out anymore. Like, put in the rookie.
That's funny.
I love it.
Oh, man.
That's hilarious. I wanted to punch Mitchell Trubisky in the face when he was picked by the Bears. That's awesome. DJ, he got the opportunity,
I think
not me.
You should have wanted to punch Matt Nagy in the face at that point.
No, there was a lot of other hands in play there. I don't think it was just his decision, but there was quite a few hands in play there to that pick that, very punchable faces were highlighted during that draft. Anyways, with Pickens, love the opportunity for him this season, just because I do feel like the offense is going to go forward. If DJ were to leave, then obviously, yes, of course, he'll be a great asset. He'll be someone that you do want to run to because he'll be a focal point in the offense. But as things stand now, I feel like it's you're going to be playing the ADP game with DJ and Pickens, right? Me and Andrew were talking about this the other day. You've seen it a lot with guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You've seen it with like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And this will be another one of those ADP games that you're going to have to play in your startups and your best balls and redrafts, when you're going back and forth between Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Probably another situation where I'm just going to sit and I'm going to take the second guy, the guy that's getting a little bit better value. I did a best ball draft last night where I saw Pickens go ahead of DJ, and I still think that that's a miscalculation. Right now, his ADP is ahead of him. Pickens is at 73, and I think DJ's like 70. He's at 80. So 7 spots. I'm going to go with the guy that's, still top 10 in the league in total targets on a team that was not very good, with a rookie quarterback that didn't, move the ball down the field with consistency. I think that DJ has a much better baseline than Pickens. I think Pickens is an exciting player, though. I mean, like you had mentioned, like the catchability, the types of plays that he can make. It's just, again, not someone that I'm like super eager is going to have a breakout this year, because there are still questions about, are they going to be a focal running team? And we don't have, a quarterback that's going to push the ball down the field, with a high amount of volume. So great situation, needs some things to develop for it to be a rush to breakout type of scenario.
Two really quick things on him, for what it's worth. I'm just looking at some of his stats here, and there's some expert notes that came up. So in 2019, he had the 17th highest graded receiver in the nation, ahead of Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle. Now, granted, that is college, and everyone has their, the situations are all different there. But then transitioning into the NFL, his 2.6 yards per route run were identical to Justin Jefferson's this year. And he was first in his class for generated. He generated 20% dominator rating, which is number one, amongst this year's wide receiver class. So for what that's worth, I mean, everything's pointing to him having a good year. And again, I truly believe it's really just all about the opportunities he's going to get.
Yeah, he needs a gunslinger. He needs a gunslinger.
Yeah, I just think there won't be quite the volume for him to have a great wide receiver finish, but I do think he'll have some great games. That is for certain. We'll finish up here with one last name, Isiah Pacheco, another Chief. Yeah, I don't know. I hate to come on here and sell all my Chiefs, but yeah, just another guy who's a sell for me. He did led Rutgers in rushing for 3 straight years. That didn't accumulate to a ton of production, though, just because it wasn't a very good offense. This is, about as good an athlete as you can get, though. 4.37 40-yard dash that falls in the 90, which I think is the 99th percentile, 98th percentile speed score. Very violent runner. Gets to his top speed very quickly. Hits the line of scrimmage with a lot of speed and anger. Just like runs every attempt like it's his last one for sure. Just his vision needs work, though. Kind of gets out ahead of himself. Kind of runs into blockers or kind of runs into tacklers without kind of needlessly. Not exactly a receiving back, but he has improved in that area as the course of the season goes on. So, this just comes down to my same argument for James Cook. He's just not, it's just the Kansas City offense is not great conducive for fantasy running backs. And he is not an elite talent. He's a great athlete, but his overall game does need work, and with the deep 2023 rookie class, the deep free agent pool, I just question if the Chiefs add somebody and he's just in a secondary role, if he gets 40-50% of the snaps, I just don't see him as a consistent option. He's also in the back end RB2 for me. And I just don't, if I can get an early second round pick for him in this 2023 class and, get a running back instead who's drafted in the 3rd, 4th round, probably 3rd round, I would take that for me personally. And, but just curious, what do you guys, Justin, what do you think about his outlook going into next year?
I want to ask you really quick. What do you think they're going to do? Like, do you think they'll bring back Jayden McKinnon?
It's tough to say. I mean, I don't know.
He's not going to demand like a big deal. Like, I have to imagine he would take a team-friendly deal with the Chiefs to come back.
He hasn't ended on a strong note this year. He had that great 4-game stretch and 5-game stretch there where he was getting a touchdown every game, and it just hasn't been the same since then. Hasn't ended strongly. So
he hit double-digit touchdowns.
I know. Yeah, it was an incredible run. It's just we saw how they were kind of quick to. Damian Williams actually did take off. It was the COVID year. He took off to take care of his mother, and so he didn't return to the team after that. But I just don't think that they're attached to him personally. Okay. I could see it. It'll just depend on who's. I just don't think there's any way of telling right now. It'll just depend on how the free agents shake out and how the rookie class. If they have somebody available in the 3rd or 4th round, because there'll be a talented running back there with this class. Maybe they don't feel the need to bring him back. It's too
I just don't see anywhere else in the NFL where he's going to go and he's going to get 10 touchdowns in like 4 or 5 games. You know what I mean? Like
I don't think we'll ever see it again.
Right. Exactly. And I'm not saying like he's going to be repeating, but I feel like they're just going to be buyers in general at the position. Like you said, like they've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen. They haven't really gotten reliable production out of any of these guys. Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco, McKinnon, probably the best baseline production, but it's been as a receiver out of the backfield, not really a running back, right? Like 8 of his was it 8 of his 10 are receiving, or 9 of his 10 are receiving touchdowns? It's
something like that.
Yeah, something ridiculous, just like out of nowhere. I just feel like this team in general is going to be buyers at the position. I had brought up some names earlier, like Montgomery, Fournette, Kareem Hunt, his origin story, the Chiefs, right? Maybe that one's kind of a far cry given how he left, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're going to be buyers at the position. I don't necessarily believe that Pacheco did enough to signify like, hey, I'm the guy, we're moving forward with me. When we've seen him play well, he has been like their lead running back. Like, they're using him not as a third down running back, but as a physical, aggressive first and second down runner. I'm just curious how the rest of the room shakes out and who his competition is going to be. Because if you're telling me it's the same 3, Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco, and McKinnon, I'm probably going to stay off of all of them. And again, take the guy who's most available in the later rounds. Like, I'm not going to be rushing to any of those guys because it's going to be a merry-go-round out of all of them, i.e. the pop goes the Rosie against the Raiders, right? Or London Bridge is falling down, whatever game they were playing.
Ring around the Rosie.
There's no whatever. There's no rhyme or reason to that running back group. If it's the same group, again, I'll stay off of all of them until I get some value in the later rounds. I don't think he's done enough to signify like, yeah, he's the guy going forward. So I'm not saying buy or sell. It's definitely, you got to read the tea leaves type of situation, but I feel like this team is going to be a buyer at the running back position this offseason. So,
Andrew, finish it off.
So I'm probably a little higher on Pacheco than most. I like what he brings to the table. The juice that he has maximizes his opportunities that he gets, and unfortunately, the opportunities just aren't always there for him. And again, that doesn't have to be in this Kansas City Chiefs offense. I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes for a reason. You want him to throw the ball. So, I don't think that they bring back McKinnon. There's guys out there that they could go get that wouldn't truly hurt Pacheco's, future outlook here. CEH is on the last year of his deal either, and that's just been abysmal. It's not like they're planning on pulling him to be the RB1 again for them. So I think barring them really getting Bijan Robinson or one of these high-profile rookies, which, again, last time they did was CEH, and that probably left a bad taste in their mouth, right? So I don't know that they necessarily are going to do that. And I think that they want to shore up their offensive line as well as some of the free agents that they have hit in the market. So I don't really think that they're going to take the money and allocate it to somebody that's going to massively take away from Pacheco. So I like his outlook moving forward. Where he's going in drafts as well currently right now, at least for best ball purposes, isn't going to kill you, where you need to take him. And again, I mean, it's a high-powered offense. You never know. Next year he might have an uptick in carries with in the 5-yard. Within the 5-yard line. And if that's the case, I mean, he's a candidate for double-digit touchdowns. He still finished as running back 36 in PPR this year. So he was a running back. So he could be a running back too. I mean, and you're drafting him at the back end of that right now. So I like his outlook moving forward, barring anything crazy, in free agency and or in the draft.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Patrick Mahomes had by far and away it was absurd how many touchdowns he had within the 5-yard line, and he was by far and away number one. You know what I mean? It's a weird play the Chiefs do. That's how they get creative within that 5-yard line, do a bunch of pitches. So it's just not a running back. The offense just frustrating. It's frustrating for fantasy running backs, and I just don't know. It might require a very, very talented running back to take that ball out of Mahomes' hands. But everybody, it was great having you all. I'm going to get to it and probably start having some drinking here, or having some drink. That's where my head's at today. I'm probably going to have a couple drinks. I don't know what it's going to be yet. Maybe a canned mule, maybe some beer, maybe just head straight to the whiskey. But
I like that moonshine you're drinking right now. I'd stick with that.
That was my coffee, which I'm definitely going to have another coffee. But it was great having you all in. What are you guys up to on SGPN this week? Any content you guys got coming out?
What are we doing, a show Thursday?
We got a Thursday show. I'm sure we'll be popping up a bunch of best ball drafts throughout the season here. So we'll have to all three make sure we can get on a few because man, best ball starting now. Oh, love it.
That's too much. Those people are sick at underdogs. Sick.
Why not? You got the itch. It's time to draft, baby. Man. I think each of us have 3 done already. Is that right?
I have 2 done. I've done 2.
I actually did another one last night after you texted me. So I actually have 4 done now.
Damn, I got to catch up.
100% Deontay Johnson exposure through those 2 drafts, though, and it'll keep going.
I think I have him at 2 out of 3. I have him at 2 out of 3. I also have, who is the other one? 2 out of 3. I think I have Eric Gray 2 out of 3. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, those rookie running backs are a good value, everybody. So be sure to grab those. Anyway, thank you for joining us and have fun watching the Super Bowl. We'll see you next Sunday. Thank you so much.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.